Today, in current events from a Christian perspective, Kamala Harris gave an interview. Some would say it was great, some maybe less so, maybe even disastrous. Apparently, it was not live, and it was 27 minutes of recorded word salad, but that was cut down into 18 minutes of just rambling and who knows really what's going on. There were really no real policy positions shared, no intelligent plans of what was going on. She would not even tell us what she would do on the first day in office, which was Dana Bash's first question to her, and all the while avoiding the reality that she has actually been and currently is the Vice President of the United States of America. We'll talk about all this and more today. I'm Matt Odegaard, and this is Church Public. Well, welcome back to Church Public. Really appreciate you stopping by today. If this is your first time, man, welcome. So glad that you have joined me today. If you have been a long-time listener, first-time guest, just kidding, really appreciate you too. If you're listening on audio, fantastic. I love that, and I hope this is helpful to you. If, for some reason, you want to see the videos, and there are a few video clips in this today from the interviews and other things, you're welcome to navigate over to churchpublic.com. I am going to post this onto the YouTubes. And I just got another message the other day that they deleted a video of mine. So I don't really know. I don't know if it'll be there or not, but I will find a place to host this video so that you can see the video if you want to see the video, or you maybe just want to listen to the audio, which again is totally fine too. So I'll try to describe things that are happening if you can't see them with your videos. Anyway, if this is helpful to you, and I hope it is, I hope this is helpful because I want to help you live out your faith. So we're bringing you current events from a Christian perspective to the effort of knowing what in the world is going on in this world right now. If that's helpful to you, hit the like button and the subscribe and the review and the stars and the notifications. Just hit every button. Just click every button on your whole screen. See what happens. Really, I have no idea what's going to happen, but it'll be exciting one way or another. If not, maybe send this to your friend and say, hey, you should listen to this. This crazy person is talking about all kinds of things. But all of that to say, I will commit to you that I've got a Bible right next to me here. We're going to be talking Bible things. We've got to talk Bible things. I hope you will read the Bible every day and do what it says, because ultimately, man, what else can we do in this wild and crazy world? Okay. So we're going to talk news, and probably for a lot of you, if you're interested in this, or if you've been listening to me for a little while, you're interested in what is going on in the world. So we look at current events from a Christian perspective. There was a rather large current event that was Kamala's press conference, and it had been, and in fact still is if you're being technical about it, but it had been 30-something days since she declared she was running to be the president of the United States, and to the point of this interview where she had not answered any questions at all, no questions about what her policy positions are, and some would say, even in this interview, there weren't a lot of policy positions presented, and much of what she said was just kind of rambly. Don't take my word for it. Listen, don't hate the messenger. I'm going to play you some of the clips, and you can decide for yourself what you would like to determine. You can go and watch this whole interview for yourself. I'm not going to link it here, but you can find it on the interwebs all over the place. Again, it's only 18 minutes, so it's not that long compared to some other presidential candidates who speak for an hour or more. So it's not a huge investment of your time if you so choose to use your time in that way. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with like the best and really the only clip you need. So if you just don't want to watch any of this and don't care about any of this and you want to move on, fine. I'm going to play this one clip for you and you decide what else you want to do. I hope you stay along. In fact, I'll give you a teaser, and that is near the end, I'm actually going to clip away from a press conference because Kamala has quoted the book of Luke. I don't know if you can see, or if you're just listening, obviously you can't see, that she quoted the book of Luke in the Bible, and sad to say, it's out of context. It has nothing to do with what the moment in this book of Luke, in the Gospel of Luke, talking about the life and legacy of Jesus. She at another event quotes the book of Luke and is totally out of context. So it's not in the interview on CNN, but man, we've got to talk about it because for me, that's the more important thing. But I know some of you just want to know what is happening in this political sphere, so we're going to talk about that too. So we're going to watch this first clip. Before I show you this first clip, this is a reminder. This is a public service announcement. I don't know where to place this, but in case you forgot, which apparently some people have, currently, right now, today, this very moment, depending on when you're watching this, Kamala Harris is the sitting vice president of the United States of America. Now, I know some of you are saying, but if you watch this interview, it seems like she doesn't know, or America doesn't know, or no one really knows or remembers that she's actually the current vice president of America right now. She talks as if she's moving forward away from this terrible administration that has been, moving beyond what once was into what might have been, or whatever word she says. But the only problem is, and you'll hear in some of her references too, these past 10 years have been really bad. Listen, I'm not great at math, but I can tell you this. I can tell you this with fair certainty. 6 of the past 10 years were Democrats in office, leading the country in the executive branch. So do with that what you will, but I have to, sometimes part of what I do is just bring us back to reality. What is actually happening? People say all sorts of ridiculous things, and I just want to say, hey, what's real here? And I will try to point you what's real, both from a real situation, whether that's creation or reality or biology, and from a spiritual perspective, because that's really what we want to get to. That's really what I want to get to. I could skip all of this current events because I really don't care that much. The only reason I care is Christians are losing their minds and not understanding how the world works in the kingdom of God. And so, we've really got to get to the kingdom of God, and we will do that. But we're going to do that through the lens of current events. So we're going to look at this. This is the first clip that I have for you that's actually later on in the interview when Dana Bash, the host, the interviewer at CNN, finally asks, hey, haven't you been in office? Aren't you in office right now? Let's listen to this.
You have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
So it goes on. She says some things for a while, but man, I'll say this is an opinion. I don't think Dana Bash did a great job interviewing, because there were moments when she could have really leaned in and said or asked hard questions and really gotten to the place of uncovering actual information. And I don't think she did that. I think she stayed pretty soft on some of these questions. So that's unfortunate. However, this is a good question. As I was mentioning, for those that forgot, Kamala is, in fact, the vice president now. And for whatever it's worth, we know, based on the last presidential debate performance of Donald Trump and Joseph R. Biden, that Joseph R. Biden, is not necessarily the sharpest he's ever been. Is that a fair enough way to say it? So who has been making these decisions? Who has been running the country? Who has been determining the course of America for the past almost 4 years at this point? And the answer is, 1, we don't really know. 2, this person, the vice president, Kamala Harris, has been the vice president for almost 4 years. So props to Dana. She's like, hey, you have been the vice president and you have been part of this administration that's been making decisions that have caused a lot of the things that we're currently dealing with. And of course, the answer that Kamala gives has nothing to do with anything, which is why I cut it off there. Hey, don't take my word for it. Go and listen to this whole interview and see if you disagree and feel like she actually gave an answer. I don't feel like she gave an answer to this question, but at least the question was asked. I would like to pause and point out 2 more things, and I've left this picture on here. So for you audio listeners, you're not going to see this. This is why maybe you want to watch the video. But if you're looking at this screen grab that I grabbed here, 1, I mean, as we were just talking about, the chyron, the words on the bottom of the screen say, Harris blames economic slump during pandemic on Trump, which is ridiculous. But again, that was 4 years ago at this point, and I don't think you can place blame on an administration that's been out of office for 4 years, but that's neither here nor there. Then the second piece that I think is important for you to say, and you may be sitting there going, yeah, news is great. I believe the news. I think they have our best interest in mind. I think they're telling us true things. I'm just going to point to one thing here, and I don't know if I can get my hand close enough to what we're pointing at. I don't have those fancy. I don't have those fancy screens like the newscasters have, where I can circle things, or those sports guys, they like circle things and draw arrows. I don't have any of that. I don't have that technology. But again, one, if you're just listening, two, if you're watching, just look over here and notice on the far end of this clip that it says live on CNN. And if you missed what I just said, this, and check my work, go and look at this. This in no way at all is live. This is recorded. It was pre-recorded. It was intentionally pre-recorded as a request from the administration, from Kamala Harris's administration. She said, I will only do a recorded interview. And they recorded, apparently, this is what I read, 27 minutes, and only 18 minutes aired. So plus, and I'm doing recording right now. Some of you have experience with recording. It takes a lot longer to actually do a recording. I would guess a few hours. And to do a few hours of recording and end up with 18 minutes is wild. When you're trying to do a quote unquote, as you're seeing here, live recording. So one, this is absolutely not live. Two, the fact that they could only harvest 18 minutes of this should tell you something about the quality of answers that were received in some of the questions. You can draw your own conclusions and do your own math on that, but just wanted to point that out because I think that's important to the overall context of this from a Christian perspective, where transparency, truth are really high values. You should want to know what people are really saying and how they're saying it. And in fact, again, I'll give you one more peek behind the curtain. You didn't ask for this. This is stuff you didn't ask for, but I don't edit my recordings when I post them. And that's ridiculous. And I really should. I should take more time and edit it because I make a lot of mistakes. And I say way too much. I know that about myself. I'm working on that, but it's something that I do. I probably say a lot of other wacky things that shouldn't ever go out on the airwaves. But I want you to hear what I have to say. I want you to have a window into my thoughts, because this is just how I think about things. I'm going to point you to scripture, as I keep telling you. That's why I've got my Bible right here, just in case I forget something. If I have to look something up, it's right here. So I try to prepare. I do a lot of preparation, and I spend a lot of time preparing that my friends and family know. But then I just go and I just talk for however long I end up talking, and I don't edit it. Now, I like doing video editing, and if this were my full-time job, I would most certainly edit it or pay somebody to video edit this. But I don't. So when I say it's interesting that they, one, wrote that it was live, and two, could only get 18 minutes out of however many minutes or hours they recorded, is at the very least to you should be interesting. Okay, so the question was, why haven't you done anything in the last 3.5 to 4 years since you are in the administration? No answer to that. Okay, now we're going to move to climate change. I am not going to play the whole video for you. I don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. Maybe you do, but I'm not doing that. So you are welcome to go and watch the whole interview. I just picked a couple of highlights that I thought, again, were interesting from my perspective, and you can go back and check in. Now, climate change I've talked about before. I've lost friends over this because you may or may not believe climate change is real, regardless of if the climate is changing, which is entirely possible. The reality is there are two things you need to know. One, back to Genesis. Yes, we humans are tasked with creation care and having dominion over the world. We are supposed to care for creation. And I don't think we've done a good job of that. That's absolutely true. I think we could definitely do better at that. But two, you may not at all, or to use biblical language, you shall not make creation your idol. Go to Romans 1. Romans 1 says that you've made the creation better than the creator, God, and worshipped idols and worshipped other things. So go read Romans 1 about that, which actually points back to the 10 Commandments. Don't make any other gods before me. So you cannot make climate an idol, and you cannot place climate or creation or the world over humanity, actually, because back to Genesis, humanity has more value to God over creation. All of creation will be made new with the new heavens and the new earth. Read Revelation about that. And humanity has more value, which is why God sent his only son, John 3:16, to save You, not creation. Now, hear me right. I'm not saying we should not work on creation and care for our world. I think we should. I think we should more than we do. But if you prioritize creation over humanity, which is what some of these things like the Green New Deal do, then you are missing the point of God's kingdom. I hope you hear that. You probably hate me for saying that, but I, at this point, care less because I'm trying to live the best I can in God's kingdom and be less influenced by what man thinks of me. I fear God. I don't fear man as much. So, with all of that said, we need energy. We need energy to live. I'm using electricity right here. You're probably using electricity to watch it. You use fuels to drive yourself places. In a more primal sense, you use some sort of energy to heat and cool your house and to cook and do things like that. So we need it, and we don't have enough. So one way to get energy is a process called fracking. And fracking is a process of harvesting natural gas and some other things. I'm not going to explain it further than that. You can go and watch videos about the process if you're interested in that. So the context of this question is Kamala has been very forward in saying she will end fracking, period, full stop, no fracking at all. So she's asked about the question. Here is her answer in this interview.
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote.
I gotta pause there. Can't even say the name right. Okay. All right. We're just gonna pause it there. Again, if you are just listening, you may not see the chyron. That's the technical term for this word salad across the bottom of the screen that CNN has placed. This particular one says Harris defends policy reversals. My values have not changed. Man, this is one of those, were you lying then or are you lying now? Like it, so I don't know what to say here. Like, you said you are against fracking and you would stop at day one. Actually, I think I have that. Yeah, I have that clip. I'm going to play that in a second. So Dana, not Dana, but Dana says, so when did you change? Why did you change? Here's where, inside baseball, I am a little disappointed in Dana's question because she not only gave a softball question, but gave a multiple choice answer. Would you say you changed because you found more information or you grew or something else? She's giving her multiple choice. All Kamala had to do was say, yeah, that. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to take answer B. And it would have been a better answer than whatever she just said about jobs and infrastructure and whatever that has to do. Like, the question is, you said you would ban fracking. Now you say you don't, so what changed? Or will you do it anyway? Will you ban it anyway? Or were you wrong then, or are you wrong now? Like, why? No, but infrastructure. Yep, sorry, that is not an answer. Not an answer to the question. I'm going to go ahead and call that one out. So then we have to point out her values have not changed. I think that's the more honest statement. This is my editorial on it, but I think that's likely the more honest statement that her values have not changed, which is consistent. It goes back. I played you that first clip because you are in office now, Kamala, and you you have to be responsible for the things that you have done, not only in the office that you're in now, but for the decades of public service that you've done. You're not a new commodity. Everyone knows your policies. Everyone knows the things that you've done in your career, or if they don't, I mean, you can look it up. It's not a secret. And when you say your policies, your values have not changed, I kind of feel like that's the more honest answer. Likely your values have not changed. But even CNN then, in an interview afterwards with some other political talkers, had to say this. So I'm going to clip this. This will probably get pulled off the internet, but I'm going to play it anyway.
The fact check, bottom line, Abby, is that she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban. So let me take you through this kind of saga. So here's what she said at a CNN climate town hall in 2019 on the subject of a fracking ban.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
That was quite clear. So she ended her 2020 presidential run in December 2019. The only debate she participated in 2020 was the general election debate with then Vice President Mike Pence. And I went over the transcript of that debate tonight. Nowhere in there does she make clear that she had abandoned her previous support for a fracking ban. Rather, she repeated that Joe Biden, the head of the Democratic ticket at the time, would himself not ban fracking. So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
So it makes perfect sense that at the time she was speaking on behalf of Biden, the president, not the vice president, sets administration policy. But maybe other people feel differently. I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view. Rather, again, she was speaking for Joe Biden.
So if that's not clear, it's because it's not clear. But on the one hand, she has not changed. Her values have not changed. Like she said, 2019, yes, 100% I will ban fracking. CNN, even CNN, who is not right-wing at all, has to say, that's not what you said. It's not what you said ever. And so then you're stuck in this trap of, well, was she speaking for Joe Biden because she was actually running things, which case she would be responsible for the things that have happened in the last 4 years, or is she not? Like this, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. So there's another point that is unclear about her policy and unclear about where she is now, or perhaps, as she said, her values have not changed. All right, we're going to move on to another clip, and this happens to do with the border. And obviously, for those that are listening, you all probably know that the border is a hot disaster in so many ways. More people across the border than ever before in the history of the United States, and most of them are coming over illegally. So she was asked, because, and the politicals are fighting this, but she was appointed as the border czar, or to find the quote-unquote root causes of border crossings, whatever that means, which is where her answer goes in this. But she's asked a question about the border, so let's listen to that first.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress.
I'm just going to pause it there because she goes on for a while and talks about something. Ultimately, again, and you know, you've listened to enough political things, you know that no one ever answers any question, which is just just maddening. It's crazy making for people who actually want answers. So she doesn't answer the question. The question is, to rephrase, you have been in office for 3.5 years. One, why did you not do any border changes for 3.5 years? And I would add to that, which was not a part of the question, but why didn't you care about the border on day one? Like, if the border is important to you, as apparently you say it is, you've been in office. You could have done lots of things. You, in fact, were enabled, empowered, brought up as the borders are. And yet the numbers haven't really changed. So I think that's interesting. I think that's another point to note as you're thinking about, is this person honest? Are they going to do the things they say they want to do now, or are they going to do the things that they have actually done for the last 3+ years or their entire career? Now, where this gets personal for you, and it should, I have some friends still in San Diego County. In fact, I have some friends very close to where this story happened. I think there's a map in this story. If you're just listening, I'll point to the map. But it happens in Jamul, California. Most of you have probably never heard of that. And for those non-Spanish speakers, it's Jamul with a J, J-M-U-L. At any rate, this story is about school buses with school children on them encountering migrant blockades. That's exactly what you think it sounds like. I'm going to play this news story for you, and then we'll talk about it.
A group of migrants tried to board a school bus this morning while it was traveling to a school. The superintendent for the Jamul del Zura Union School District informed parents of that incident earlier today. It happened at one of the stops on the school district's bus route that heads to Oak Grove Middle School and Jamul Primary. Meanwhile, yesterday afternoon, in a similar area along another route, the superintendent says that a group of migrants tried to stop another bus. Border Patrol, CHP, and the Sheriff's Office have now been informed of these incidents. The superintendent says that for the safety of everyone, if a driver sees a group of migrants at a bus stop, they will drive past it and move on to the next.
I don't know how I can be more serious about this, but this affects you. Now, apparently, it affects your kids. Legal immigrants, I'm not going to say migrants as this news reporter did, illegal immigrants, people who have come over the border illegally, so they have already broken a law. You can say whatever you want, and you can be as empathetic as you want about people generally, but if you already break a law, then you are already a lawbreaker. This is just the reality. Again, I'm going to try to bring you back to reality. I'm going to try to be as objective about this as possible. Yes, we need to love people. Yes, we need to extend them grace from a Christian perspective. However, there are rules and consequences for not following rules. So crossing a border illegally is a rule, and if you break that rule, there should be consequences. Now, there are consequences for the children of the people who are living in these areas. And I have a friend, I'm not going to point to on the map, but I have a friend who is very close to this map route. That should be shocking to you. You should already be frustrated by the current administration and some of the border issues that they're not dealing with. But now groups of migrants are apparently waiting at bus stops or just crossing roads and trying to stop buses and board buses. And who knows what else? What possible reason could illegal immigrants have for stopping a school bus full of children on it? I don't want to think about it. I don't think you want to think about it. But this is the reality that is happening in America because of the policies of this administration that's currently in office, who says they're hard on border security. You draw your own conclusions from that, but this should be a thing that drives you nuts. Then, to Dana Bash's credit, she doubles down on this question and asks another border question. Let's listen to this.
Again, I just want to ask about,
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced. that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes, you were the Attorney General of California. You were more soft on the criminals. For instance, to go back to the abortion question, when David Dalidian infiltrated Planned Parenthood and took secret videos of the atrocities they were doing there, instead of prosecuting Planned Parenthood, Kamala, you prosecuted the reporter who was trying to show the truth about the evils of abortion to the world. So I'm sorry, I cannot give you credit for prosecuting the illegal immigrants. I'm sorry. Yeah. And anyway, so again, pointing to the chyron of CNN here, which still, by the way, says live. This is just wild, this world that we're living in. The chyron on this one, if you're just listening, says, "I would enforce our laws at border." That's a quote from Kamala. So again, I'm going to ask the same question. Oh, you are already sick of me asking this question. Then why didn't you do it? You've been the vice president and quote unquote border czar for 3+ years. Why didn't you do it? I would enforce this when you're president, like you're vice president now, right now, you're the vice president. Do it. Save these children from being boarded at their bus stops from illegal immigrants trying to do whatever they're trying to do. Do it. Do it now. Like, why wait? What are you doing now? Why are you not doing this now? I listen. You guys answer this question. Answer it for yourself. I'm just pointing you to this interview. Go watch the rest of the interview. If you think I'm taking this out of context, go and watch the rest. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't think you're going to find more information, but you do what you need to do to get to the truth of this. I grabbed these clips because I thought they illustrated that she is making excuses for the border being bad and also not admitting that the border is bad. So I wanted to play you one. And I could play you many, many, many clips of issues that have come from this border being completely porous, and whoever wants to come in wherever they want is just possible. In fact, I'm going to show you this. I'm sure you saw this, but this is the infamous Trump chart. Okay? So if you're just listening, you're not seeing this. In fact, I'm gonna think about this. Remember that time a couple weeks ago where Trump was almost assassinated and was shot at a rally, and then we don't know what happened, and we don't know why it happened, and we basically know nothing about how this could have happened, but Trump was shot at a border rally. I'm sorry, at a border rally. I've lost my mind. He was shot at a rally where he was talking to interested parties, and he was shot. And again, here, if you're just listening, I'm showing you the image that came from this, where he says, "No, we're going to fight," and he's encouraging people to fight. The American flag's in the background. You know, a little bit of blood. I'm definitely going to get kicked off the interwebs for this. But listen, remember that actually happened. That was a thing that happened, and it is completely out of the news cycle now because nobody cares in the mainstream news that this is a thing that the former president and current nominee for president was shot and almost killed, and no one cares anymore. This should be a thing. Now, why do I bring that up? This Trump chart is what he looked at in that moment when he turned his head to look at the screen when, whatever you want to call it, miraculously, he was not hit by that bullet in a way that would end things for him. Instead, he was looking at this chart. Okay, why do I bring all that up? Because this chart shows, you can pause this video if you want to, or you can look up this chart. This is nothing. I didn't invent this chart. This is the chart that he had on the screen while he was talking and was almost assassinated. And you can see in a little bit past the middle where he had just about left office and how he had lowered border crossings to an historic level, then left office. And then you see past that we are so far past the historic level of low and now are in the largest border crossing a number of illegal immigrants in the history of America by the biggest margin imaginable. And that is not hyperbole. Look at this chart. So to have Kamala, as the current vice president and current border czar, say we're doing great on border crossings is just, it's so beyond laughable. It's just tragic. And people, I think, believe this. I think people listen to this and go like, oh yeah, they're doing great. If you've made it this far, congratulations, and you are more informed than most people. So I hope this is helpful to you. Okay, that's all I want to do on the interview. I even talked longer than I wanted to, but this is me. I can't stop talking. All right. Here's what I want to do with the remaining few minutes of our time. If you're still with me, if you've still got time, I want to talk about the Bible. And I want to talk about Luke. If you've got a Bible, hey, mine is open to Luke 1. You can open your Bible to Luke 1 if you'd like. And the reason is Kamala is talking to the African Methodist Episcopal General Conference. And she was talking on video. And she was talking about people needing to vote. Okay, fine. And then she was talking about Luke 1. So I'm going to play the clip. I'm going to point you to Luke 1, and then we're going to see how she did on, I'm going to use this big word. There's a big word that is hermeneutics. You don't need to know that word. If you want to know that word, you can go look it up. Hermeneutics. I will define it for you in 3 seconds. Hermeneutics is the science and art of Bible translation, going from the historical content and actual writing into the current language and context. Okay? Simple. So hermeneutics, big word, just means you're translating the Bible so that the people in the current cultural context can understand the writing and the cultural context that happened when it was written. Okay? Easy. So we're going to evaluate how did Kamala do quoting this verse in the context of what she was talking about. And yes, I know Bible verses are misquoted all the time. But they shouldn't be. Maybe that's a pet peeve. But they shouldn't be. So let's listen to this, see how she did. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Organizing souls to the polls. Making sure your members are registered and ready to vote. Because, of course, we all know this is the most consequential election of our lifetime.
Okay, I got to pause there and say, I think every election is now the most consequential in your lifetime. I'll try not to pause more, but yeah, that's funny.
We face a choice between two very different visions for the future of our nation. One, ours, that is focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. But we are not going back.
Okay, I got to pause there and just say, yes, that's exactly right. Actually, she's defined that correctly. The progressive vision is always focused on the future, trying to make heaven on earth or paradise or utopia from a Marxist perspective, which, by the way, both of Kamala's parents were self-proclaimed Marxist professors. So that is a very Marxist ideology that we're trying to get to the future, because if we do enough work now, we will get to the preferred future, which is paradise on earth. And by the way, that's not possible, which is why I am a conservative, and I'm a conservative from the perspective that I want to not go to the future per se. I want to go to God's kingdom and point to the Bible and the way we're supposed to live, not how you invent things that you want us to do. But Christian perspective, that's what I'm doing here.
We are fighting for a future where no child has to grow up in poverty, where every senior can retire with dignity, and every person has the opportunity to own a home, start a business, and build intergenerational wealth. A future with affordable health care, affordable child care, and paid leave. And a future where we protect our most fundamental freedoms and rights, including the freedom to worship. As the Gospel of Luke tells...
Okay, we're going to get to Luke in a second. Do you all remember... Maybe you experienced this. I experienced this. Maybe you didn't. But did you ever experience that thing where the senior class presidential nominee, like in high school, we're going back to high school. Like, remember in high school when they would be a really smart senior who was on all the boards, and they used to call it ASB. I don't know what to call it anymore. Associated Student Body. And you're running to be president of the high school. functionally, you know what I'm talking about. And one of them would have just like a list of things they're trying to accomplish. It was really good. It was really well thought out. They'd probably be wearing a suit or something like really good. Then you'd have another person who would get up in that election. Am I the only one that experienced this? You'd have another person who would get up in that election process, and this is high school, mind you, and they would say, listen, I just really want the teachers to give no more grades, and I would really like every lunch period to be like 2 hours long, and I would really like free tacos for everyone, and if you vote for me, our football team is going to win every game. And everyone cheers, and it's like, yeah. And at the same time, everyone, and I really mean everyone, also knows none of those things are possible and none of those things are real. And you're just like shooting rainbows and unicorns into the crowd and saying, don't you guys want rainbows and unicorns? Like, if you vote for me, I'm going to make all your wildest dreams come true. And is it just me, or does that sound like what she's saying here? She's saying like, I want everyone. It's like she's saying the words to John Lennon's Imagine, the Beatles' Imagine, but in a political sense. Like, that's what I'm hearing. She's like, everyone will have jobs and everyone will have a house and no one will be sick and everyone will have the best life ever and all your wildest dreams will come true if you vote for me. And I mean, if you vote for somebody else, like, it's going to be hell on earth. And is it just me? Like, seriously, is it just me? Or when I listen to that, I go, it sounds like you're wanting to be the high school president and you're saying all your wildest dreams will come true if you vote for me. Okay, I digress a little bit, but just listen, pause it right now, go back a minute and a half and listen to it again and tell me if my observation is not right. Just tell me right in the comments. Like, anyway, that's how I heard it. Okay, now we get to her talking about Luke, the Gospel of Luke. Okay, listen.
Tells us faith has the power to shine a light on those living in darkness and to guide our feet in the path of peace. In moments such as this, faith guides us forward. Faith in the promise of America, freedom, opportunity, and justice. Not for some, but for all. So let us do all we can to move our nation forward.
Okay, she keeps talking for a while. You get the idea. So she said, she said that this passage or the Bible tells us that we have this faith, and this faith is the power to shine on those living in darkness and guide our feet in the path of peace. Okay, what's Luke 1 about? And listen, if you need to pause right now and go grab your Bible or look it up on your smart device or whatever and grab your Bible, please do. Please follow along. I would love for you to get into some Bible reading. What is this passage about? What's going on in this passage? I know if you've made it 45 minutes at this point, like, God bless you, but I got to keep going. Okay. What are we talking about here? This is a story of the birth of John the Baptist. And this is where Mary, the mother of Jesus, visits her relative Elizabeth, who's the mother of John the Baptist. So first of all, if you go back in Luke 1 for a moment, this is an excellent argument against abortion, because these two babies, there's this really, really fun part where they meet each other, where Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, meet. And here's chapter 1, verse 41. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby in her stomach, because she was pregnant, the baby leapt in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. There's two pregnant moms meeting each other for the very first time. One of them is the mother of Jesus. One of them is the mother of John the Baptist. And when they meet, the baby starts kicking like crazy. And it's not just a biological effect. Both of these ladies, full of the Spirit, know this is because babies are valuable. These two babies are very valuable. But God says every baby is valuable. Kamala Harris is who is the most pro-abortion candidate of all time. Go and check my work on that. I believe she says this. Is quoting a verse Only a few verses after this. So first of all, I think that's important to understand the context of this clip. Then, what is this quote talking about when she says we have faith and all this? John's father, John the Baptist's father, Zechariah, is filled with the Spirit, and he starts prophesying not only over John the Baptist, but over all people. Because he starts realizing who Jesus is and who his son John the Baptist is going to be. John the Baptist being the one who prepares the way for the Lord. Again, read through the gospel, and that's what happens. So this is the context, and this is what is going on. And what you hear in this is that because the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven to shine on those living in the darkness and in the shadow of death, it's important to guide our feet into the path of peace. Now, what is this talking about? This passage is talking about John the Baptist preparing the way for the Lord and showing those that are trapped in great darkness. Go back to your Christmas story or earlier in Luke, and even in Luke 2, those that are in a great darkness have seen a wonderful light because Jesus is the light and the way and the truth. So, yeah, this clip is so far out of context. I literally don't know what to do with it. She's saying you should go and vote. Sure, that's a thing. It has nothing to do with this passage. She's saying you should vote for candidates that care about you. Sure, but I have no idea what that has to do with this passage. Here's what I think. Here's why I think she's is quoting this passage. And I don't know. But this is what I think. I think my guess is that she's using this passage because one of the speechwriters who don't read the Bible ever did an internet search for a verse that talked about guiding somebody on a path. Honestly, I think that's what it is. To shine on those living in darkness, to guide our feet into the path of peace. That was the quote that Kamala said. She skipped to shine on those living in the darkness and in the shadow of death. She skipped the in the shadow of death line. But if you know Psalm 23, which you can't see because it's right above this right here, but I have Psalm 23 right here because it's one of my favorites, because God is our shepherd who leads us through the valley of death. And this passage is all about Jesus being the good shepherd who leads us from death to life. This is a great passage about the gospel of Jesus and has nothing to do with voting. I am not the smartest person in the room, but I have no idea how to connect this passage and John the Baptist preparing the way for the Lord to voting in this election. Seriously, I have no idea. So I have rambled for too long. I appreciate you. If anyone is still listening, thank you. I'm going to end with this. Yes, Trump has not been stellar lately on his abortion perspective, on IVF. He has not done well on that. I hope that he comes around and realizes and begins to say the things he used to say about the evils of abortion and the evils of killing babies. But I will say this, and this is for sure, Trump is not a communist dullard. And Kamala is quite clearly a Marxist communist and hates you and wants you to not prosper so that she can prosper. That's just absolutely 100% clear. I saw this. You may or may not appreciate this, but I did, because this is what I've been saying for several months, maybe even longer at this point. Because I have conservative and even Christian friends who are saying you cannot vote for Trump because he now is more pro-abortion than he was. I agree. I agree. I do not like that he has come around and been more pro-abortion. I don't like that at all. And if I had my way, a pastor would be president who understood the value of life and, in fact, made this a Christian nation. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I'll probably, again, get kicked off the interwebs for saying that. But this chart, I think, is helpful for us to realize that if you're just listening, this is a chart of the number of babies who will die if Kamala is president, and it's just a simple bar chart with a very large bar. Then, next to it, the number of babies who will die if Trump is president, with, we'll give it a third of the way up. And then we have this circle above Trump's line that says the baby's what we must fight to save in the 2024 election. And if that is your metric I hope you see this chart, and I hope you understand what this chart is saying, and that is, yes, Trump has not been great on abortion lately, but babies will live if he is president that will not live if Kamala is president. That is the terrible math of this equation. But I want to come back to what I just said before showing that chart, which I think is more important. If you do not study history at all, if you have not studied history, if you do not understand the carnage, I have relatives who are very, very into World War II and the atrocities that the Nazis perpetrated on the Jews especially. And it's terrible. But if you do not understand how many tens, if not hundreds of millions of people died under communism, then you have not paid attention to history or understand the evil that comes with trying to force people to live a certain way under communism. And it's just true. If you don't believe me, look into Russian history and Mao and Pol Pot and Stalin. Look into these and look into the amount of people that have died under these regimes. Trump may not be ideal on some of the abortion pieces, but he is not a communist. That I can say for sure. He loves America. He is not particularly Christian. That's a problem for me. But he is not a communist. And the other person on this ticket pretty certainly is. For Church Public, I'm Ed Odegaard. I hope this is helpful. And as always, I hope you'll keep the faith. Thanks again for stopping by, everybody. Wow, if you have made it to this point, you're better than most. And I hope this is helpful to you. If it is, leave a comment, a like, a review, subscribe, hit the notifications, share this with a friend, because that really helps. I just want to get the word out so that people can live closer to Jesus. Ultimately, that's all I care about. God bless you. We'll see you next time.